We're going to give you a simple 4-step process that guaranteed will separate you from over 95% of your competitors. Let me repeat that. If you just do these 4 steps, and we're literally talking about 4 30-second, 45-second voicemails. You deliver these 4 45-second voicemails to every single prospect that your company gives you, or if you're a sales leader, if you execute this 100% of the time, you will literally separate yourself from 95% of the competition. Absolutely. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally.
David and I have been working on this and taken our years of experience and said, okay, if we have a rock star BDR, they just know what to do. They're strange. They're hard to find. Minimum $100,000 if you can find a minimum of $100,000, but they're also impossible to find. I mean, it's just a difficult thing. So we said, listen, we got to make something simple for the average salesperson who's getting 5, 10, 15 leads a month from the company. And the other challenge that they're facing, David, is now since COVID, people working from home, 90% of the time you're getting voicemail. Yeah. So this 4-step process involves 4 voicemails and 4 emails. Yeah. Let's talk about, before you even think about calling into a lead, David, very briefly, let's talk about the pre-call preparation.
I call it the insight stage, Larry. So it's the research. Who is this person I'm going to talk to? It doesn't take a lot of time. Right. Just be clear in your business. What is it I need to know? Who are they? What kind of business are they? If I've looked them up on their website, are there any news on the website? Is there anything that they've just told the world about, some exciting event that they've got? Or maybe I look them up on LinkedIn, I find out what their interests are, what they're talking about, so that basically by the time, and you can do it in a structured way. For me, it's it's not a random bit of note-taking. It is, before you decide, you say, these are the 6 points I need to know before I get on this call.
Right.
And then research them. And then when you're on your call, you know what you're like. I mean, we've all done it, where you've got a memoir by the side of you. When you're talking, if you get through to a person or a voicemail, you've got those trigger points in front of you.
You've got them in front of you. And this, just for the reps out there, we know that you're pressed for time. We're not talking about an hour, 40 minutes. You're literally talking about, you're looking for a couple of gems. You just need to find maybe a couple things about the company. Maybe you find a couple things about them on LinkedIn. David tells a story where they had something in common with nonprofits. Yeah. We don't have to go in, but that was his lead-in, was on a personal level. Find something interesting about the company. Let's say you go to their website and it says we're opening 23 locations. Boom, I'm done. That's all I need. I just need a talking point. And then what are give me one example of something that you might find on LinkedIn about the person that might be a good talking point.
Okay, so the sort of thing you will find is where maybe ideally they posted something. So they might have posted something about their business. Or if you can't find that, they might have commented on someone else's post. So you're finding a subject area that they click. I mean, I told you about the person where I found something about at a personal level where this guy was involved in providing free books to charities, and I was involved in charities, and so I contacted him on the basis that he could help me with my charities.
Right.
But whatever it is, you just find something either that they're posted, so that's great, because now you know what they're interested in. And even if people aren't posting, look for things that they're commenting on.
Maybe you guys went to the same school, especially if you're in that market. You probably have 500 people on LinkedIn. If you're selling in the same market that person is in, it might be the same school, it might be a rival school.
Yeah, but the first thing I'll do is look at my connection.
Yeah.
What mutual connections have we got?
One quick thing, my brother Bill and I wanted to get into this software company. It was based outside of Philadelphia. We're like, gosh, we really want to get through to this guy, Greg. We went to LinkedIn and we're like, Maura Dillon is the EA, my cousin. What? The executive assistant to the CEO of this $500 million company. Yeah. So we just called up Maura. Maura, it's Cousin Larry. Look, Cousin Larry, what's going on? Are you working, at this company? She goes, yeah. I'm like, what's your job there? Oh, I'm the CEO's EA. Like, well, what's up? We want to talk to him about this and this. She's like, what about lunch next Tuesday? Done. Just because, we went to LinkedIn. Yeah. So you never know. So that's the first step. Now, the reason that we do that is because it's going to make it dirt easy to have that call. So if you do get someone on the phone, which that's only a 10% chance, now you have something to talk about. Do not talk about yourself. Do not get on the phone and say, let's put the construct in place. Let's say you sell office furniture. You don't want to get on the phone and go, do you want to buy office furniture? I sell office furniture. No, do not do. There are 1,000 ways to blow that first phone call.
Yeah.
And there's a few ways to do it. So you just want to make it simple.
Don't sell.
Go ahead. Don't sell.
Don't sell. Don't sell. I mean, how many times do you get it? I mean, I hate it.
Yeah.
You get people saying, they even
I'm
go
the
as far as
best,
say,
baby.
Yeah, I'm the best. This is a sales pitch. Oh, really? Put the phone down or switch off the email.
Are you buying furniture?
Don't sell.
Are you moving? Because we sell the moving leads. Are you moving?
It's like,
no. They just lied to you.
That is a good one. So it's similar to now. You go into a bar or a conference or a networking event.
Right.
You see this beautiful lady on the other side and you go up to her. Are you going to get your box of watches out and say, I got this great thing to sell to you?
Right.
Of course you won't. You'll go through, you go through a bit of a courtship.
Right.
It's the same thing. You just introduce yourself and do a little bit of, that's it.
An introduction, but you're coming with the gift. And the gift is you're saying something, hey, I understand. I went to Villanova. You went to Temple. Whatever. There's a rivalry where they went to school. That at least for the love of God that you put a little effort in. So that's the rare case where you're actually going to talk to someone. And then what this does is it gets that anxiety, because I know a lot of you out there are very anxious about making that call because it's a different skill set. Now, the beauty of these days is you almost want voicemail. If you're not skilled at this, you kind of want to be the worst telemarketer or worst inside sales rep ever. You want to be like, John's not available, is he? Because it's easy, because then what you do is you say, hey, John, it's Larry Dillon from Commercial Furniture Works. Just wanted to introduce myself. By the way, I was looking at your website. Congratulations on your growth. And by the way, I'm so sorry to hear that you went to, Temple or Villanova or wherever it is. I went to blah, 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 blah. Listen, just wanted to introduce myself. Look, it's really simple. I sell office furniture. If you're in the market, I just sent you an email that says office furniture. Love the opportunity next time something comes up. Give me a call. Now, the fact that you called some sales rep, here's the dirty little secret. Even if that came across as a lead, now this could be a web lead, it could be a purchase lead, it could be from a networking event. Somebody's like, hey, call this company. You've just set the stage. It's very nice. Let them self-identify. Now, if you have a system that'll tell you that they opened the email, if they open that email, that's a tell. What you just did, believe it or not, by telling them that you're going to send an email and actually immediately send that email, you just separated yourself from 50% of your competition in one step.
That was the epiphany for me, Larry, when you first told me about that. And I had guys picking up the phones and doing all that stuff. And you said to me, you know what? We pick up the phone, we said, I'm going to send you an email.
Yes.
And it's such a simple thing, but that's a huge step difference. And the response rate that you get, well, you tell me, but the response rate that certainly my clients are getting is 50% more than they would do.
You literally will separate yourself. So now what you've done is you've done one impression. Now, the timing between these all depends on a lot of things, but let's say in the case where the deadline for them to purchase is in 6 months. Let's say you have a lead that you've gotten intel, or you were in a networking event and they're like, hey, these guys are going to make this purchase in 6 months, or whatever it is. You have to figure out how far you're going to space them apart. So let's say we're going to space them apart 3 weeks or a month. If you know that they're going to make the purchase in 2 months, then obviously you need to accelerate this. So you have to sort of think about how far apart. And we'll get to going beyond the 4 steps. So let's say something's happening in 6 months. We got a hunch that that's happening. Now, for the second, you have to have an excuse for the second call. So the beauty of this is I just sent you an email with a list of our services and my contact information. I hope you find that useful. Now, let's say we're going to call them back in 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. What do they say on this follow-up call, Dave?
This is the follow-up mail or the call that talked about, just to remind them that you'd sent to me before.
It's Larry again.
It's a reminder, and now I'm going to give you some value add. I'm going to give you something that you will find.
And what are some example of value adds? Because this is what you're going to do. Continue from here, whether it's 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll talk about doing more of this.
Let me give you an example. If I was going to work with real estate people, for example, a value add might be giving them some information in an index on real estate prices that maybe they are aware of, maybe they're not aware of, but I'm just going to give them something that they would find of value. I'm not selling them anything at all.
Nope.
I'm going to provide them. I mean, the best example, I think I told you once before about a client of mine who designed an app for their target audience to use. Wasn't about selling at all.
It was free.
It was free, and it was adding value to the to their customer. So it made their job easier, basically. And it was so it's those kinds of things that the days of I'm going to send you my case study is a classic. I'm going to put a case study
about that. Stop it.
Who's going to read it?
Stop it.
Nobody's going to read it. Or I'm going to send you the company newsletter. Well, you know what? The company, it may be something, if there's value add in there, if it's focused on their industry, then maybe, but generally speaking, it's not. It's just, so those kind of spammy messages are definitely not on.
No.
You've got to think carefully. It's a reintroduction. It's saying, I'm just following up. And by the way, I thought you would find this of interest.
And I like 5 mistakes mistakes people make. Hey, listen, I just saw, if you can find an article on another website or in a magazine, like 5 mistakes people make when they buy office furniture.
Sure.
So let's focus around office furniture. It could be IT services, whatever it is, or 5 mistakes people make when designing their office, or when do you know it's time to redesign your office?
Sure.
Or there's lots of case studies in office furniture about the young, like producer Jeff, you young kids, you want a cool, snappy, modern, hip workplace, right?
Of course I do.
Well, that's what they say anyway. I don't know about Jeff. Jeff's pretty cool. But what you want to do is get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of information. You could do it and it'll last you the whole year. So get that information. You can write an article on the 5 mistakes people make when they purchase your service. So the voicemail is going to be very simple again. And again, if you put in your notes in your CRM, like, hey, this guy went to Villanova or went to St. Joe's or whatever, call back and say, hey, listen, it's Larry again. I just wanted to follow up. I wanted to make sure that you got my last email with my information. Hey, by the way, I just saw a great article, or we just published a great article on this. I hope you find it useful. Again, I'm going to send you, it says 5 mistakes, or it says ways you can improve your work environment. And then if you do this 2 times in a month, I've owned this business. Well, I've been in business for a long time.
Show your age.
I'm amazed. I'll fill out a form on the website. I'll reach out to a company, and I was looking for, we have our CRM or our PRM, prospect for relationship management tool. I was looking for bolt-on graphics and software that just bolts onto it. And that's north of 20, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks. Called them. They called me back once, had a conversation, told them I was definitely interested, and then they just give up. You never give up.
Yeah.
Never give up. Crazy. So if you make that second call, so now you've had 4 touch points, 2 emails and 2 voicemails with your name in the email, and in the voicemail, you want to say your name, just to refresh your memory. I'm Larry from Commercial Furniture Works. We're a Philadelphia-based or Cincinnati-based or Los Angeles-based or Toronto-based or London-based furniture company. Here's the 4 mistakes people make. I just sent you an email that's got that article, and just have FYI at the bottom. This is a list of the services. Here I am. You just separated yourself from 80% of your competition, maybe 85.
Yeah.
Just in those 2 30-second phone calls, you maybe did 5 minutes of research gathering that. You just put it in your notes, so every time you can refer back. So if you actually speak to them, you can say, hey, listen, I saw on your website you're opening 10 new locations this year. Congratulations. I was doing a demo for one of these training videos. I just happened to pick up one of our leads, and it was a 1,000-person law firm with 23 locations. And I'm like, God, I don't care what business you're in. I can spin that into like a major account. It was a law firm. They had 6 lawyers that won awards from the Florida Bar lawyers or whatever it is. Easy. I'm using the same content. I've got my library of content. And then the third call, same thing. Hey, it's Larry. I just saw an article, blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to reach out to you. I hope you got my last email. Just wanted to send this out to you. I hope you find it useful. And again, depending on when they're going to buy, you just space these out. You do the third, you have separated yourself from 95% of your competition. I cannot tell you, I can't think of any company that I've reached out to make a significant purchase of B2B stuff that someone's followed up with me 3 times. Yeah. And this is from people that are non-responsive. By this time, if they're going to make the purchase, and let's say you know, right, there's some sort of pending event that you know they're going to buy furniture within this period of time, you are top of mind above all other furniture companies by the third.
That's the key.
Top of the mind.
Yeah.
And then you just do it a 4th time. It's the same process.
And you know what, Larry? If at the end of that 4th time, they're still not engaging with you, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Now, here's the thing. But if you keep on calling and emailing, they may not want to hear that. So the thing is to mix it up a bit. So it can be, you can do, maybe it's an indirect post on LinkedIn. So here's the thing you can do. So you can post something on LinkedIn and you tag the person that you've been reaching out to on that post.
Right.
So that, again, it's not an overt sell. Again, bringing them to front of mind. And maybe it's on Instagram, maybe it's on Facebook, maybe whatever means you're using. And I absolutely guarantee that if that's the approach, by the time you've gone 4 or 5 times down the road, spaced out, not all in 1 week, they will know who you are and they'll come to you when they're ready to buy.
At higher margins. Yeah. This is what Constant Contact did to grow their business. They actually had 12 full-time consultants that would just coach people on how to grow their business through email campaigns. And then what they said is just give them useful information. And when it comes time for them to buy whatever it is you're selling, you'll already be number 1 in their mind and you'll get the deal at a higher fair price. And you know what Constant Contact did? They whooped all their competition. Gail Goodman did this. She wrote a book on how she was whooping everyone's ass while she was CEO of Constant Contact. Took them from 50,000 to 500,000 with these 12 guys that were not allowed to sell. They literally would do these actually live events. Oh, by the way, I suggest once or twice a year, why not have a networking event at your location where it's just like, hey, just a networking event. We promise we're not going to try to sell you anything. We just want to introduce you to other business people, even if they can't do it. And the way you say it is, I wanted to make a personal invitation to you. How does that sound? We're having an event where we've got one of the top designers, right? If you're, and I can figure it out for your company. Yeah. Why not have the top designer would be happy to speak to a bunch of prospects. Yeah. They're going to talk about the trends in office design.
One of my favorites, Larry. One of my favorites. You organize an event, organize a round table, I call it a round table event with your clients. You bring them in, and then you bring in someone to talk about a particular subject. And
it could be fun. There's a very successful furniture company here that has a masters tournament at his warehouse every year, and nobody tries to sell you anything. It's awesome. And you don't even have to try to sell them anything. It's even better if you're just like, hey, we're just getting together. It's just a networking event. Promise you nobody's going to try to sell you. You're not obligated to buy anything, but I just wanted to make that personal invitation. Yeah. When is the last time somebody called you and said, hey, I wanted to invite you to a networking event and sent you an invitation? If no one shows up and you do that to 100 prospects, the distance between you and your competition is huge. Massive. And if you don't believe it, trust me, from a buyer of hundreds of millions of dollars in business stuff, you separated yourself from everyone that I've ever done business with because they all give up maybe three calls. So if you have a lead where there's some indication that they're going to buy in some period of time, and it depends on what you're selling, but others, you're going to want to just constantly do this. And it might be once a quarter. So it might be 4 times a year, 5 times a year, but depending on your industry, like if you're an MSP and somebody fits your, you've got one trigger, you never give up. You constantly, and every quarter.
For some companies, Larry, it's counterintuitive to say, don't try and sell.
Don't try to sell.
You get someone on the phone, you get somebody cold calling or following up on a lead, and immediately they're into you trying to do a hard sell on you.
Right.
And you back away because it's not the right moment, it's not the right time. I've told you about this one guy who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I just wrote back and said, have you looked at my website? Have you looked at my profile? Because what you're trying to sell me is how I help other people.
Literally is less than 5 minutes of looking on their website because you know what's on the front page? What they want the world to know about themselves.
Exactly.
And you just go to LinkedIn. Don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. I'll kill you if you spend more than 5 minutes. That's all it takes. Just write down those nuggets.
2 sales guys that did it for me, Larry, that spring to mind immediately. One was where a guy had gone on my LinkedIn profile, had seen that I do mountain walking, had seen that I'd done what's called the 3 Peaks in the UK. And so his reach out to me was, I was really impressed by how tough it is to do the 3 Peaks. And so he immediately is engaging with me on a personal level. A similar thing with another guy he'd looked at my LinkedIn profile and he'd seen some of the comments that some of my clients had made about me. And he said, I was really engaged by XYZ person had said about you and what you achieved on that. Wow, that
so
was
difficult.
And so I'm sitting there saying, wow, at least the guy has made an effort to understand what I do, and he's actually looked at my profile.
What a beautiful way to approach someone. Like you're talking about them. Hey, listen, I've read this was really impressive. Just wanted to reach out to you, just introducing myself. Look, this is what I do. Love the opportunity next time you're in the market.
But I can tell you, Larry, it's 1 in 50 people that will do that.
Not even 50. Dude, I got to admit, there was one guy, I kept telling him, and I tell reps, I'm like, follow up on me. Eventually, I'm going to buy what you're selling. And most of them give up after that first phone call. There was one guy that hung in there for like maybe 9 months. He would religiously call me in 9 months. And then I forgot. And then I wound up buying from someone else. But he had top of mind. Like every time I got the phone call, I'm like, this dude's going to get my business. He's going to get my business. Because sometimes I got a back burner. But then the minute I'm ready to buy, I forget the guy's name, forgot about him. I'll just go to a website and find another company. But it's the easiest thing in the world to do. So
4-step process.
And again, it could be more. If you're an MSP, you should have like a lifetime process, and that might be once a quarter. But at a minimum, do this over a short period of time. If you have questions, feel free to give David a call or myself a call. Our information is on the headline of this instructional video, and that's it. Couldn't be be easier. You're not going to have to talk about yourself. Talk about them. Compliment them. It's the easiest thing to do. Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
Just wanted to introduce myself.
Introduce. Yeah.
That's it. Hey, we've done a lot of work in your market. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So an event is good. Also, if you have a special. Also, if you know that they're going to buy in a short period of time, get a price in front of them. If your phone say, look, we can do this for $19.99, your cost will be higher or lower depending on the features. If you sell furniture, get a picture of an office suite. Say you can have this office suite for $2,870.
Yeah.
Just get a beautiful picture of that office suite. Get a price in front of them. They will call you. You'll be surprised. If you sell moving services, you're like, hey, it looks like you're a 50-person office. On average, it costs $12,500 to move your office. This is for budgeting purposes only. Your cost will be higher in big bold letters. Remember, this is for budgeting purposes only. Your cost will be higher, so that if you come out and you're like, hey, this is going to be higher, like you told them twice. If it is, time is of the essence, get a price in front of them. We used to get, 12 deals a year in the moving business in furniture installation, where they would just call up, and significant deals, and they would just call up and say, hey, it's Marcy, I want to book my office move. That never happens. It's like you got to battle to get the appointment, battle to get in there, your bidders conference. And we're like, could you read the proposal? And she's like, yeah, your cost will be higher or lower. Well, it's like it says, Marcy, I got to come out. She's like, okay. And we come out and we'd be like, well, it's a long carry and you got an elevator, so it's going to be $15,000. Okay. And it kept the competition out. If you do that, the deal is imminent. Just get the price in front of them. Just say, hey, I don't know if you're moving or not, but just for budgeting purposes, just so that you know, if you are, on average is what it would cost. Tell them twice in big bold letters. Don't hedge it and say, well, Just be honest and say, this is a low price. Your cost will be higher or lower. Yeah, it's the
winner every time.
Winner absolutely every time. You literally will separate yourself. Once you got the research done of what you're going to do, you use that for every one of these cadences. You're talking about 5 minutes worth of research, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 voicemails that should be no longer than, say, 30 seconds. So you're looking at 2 minutes, 7 minutes in time, and then maybe 3 minutes to pound out these emails. And the emails are all the same, so you can just duplicate it. And that's it. Need any skill, but just do that to every single lead. Minimum of 4. Yeah.
Go win.
Win. David Parry.
Larry Dillon.
Sales coach extraordinaire. Thank you so